Alright, so this is my 2019 Honda Monkey. Something that's been bothering me ever since I've owned it has been the turn signals don't work. So we're going to let the cluster come on. And so if you look here, you can see the indicator for the turn signal. You can see it doesn't flash. And this is me switching it from like left to right here. And when you come out here and you look at it, the turn signals do not come on at all. So here it is in the rear. Everything else works though. Brake light, high beams, all that. Just no turn signals. So we're going to investigate that today. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to pull the seat off and we're going to lift the tank up because the flasher relay sits on the bottom. But the first thing that we're doing before we do all that is we're just going to check fuses to make sure that it's got power, and then we go from there. We're going to check for power. So we're going to change this over to power really quick just to make sure we've got power. All right, so that's good to go there. I'll check all these off screen. Obviously we've got the key on, so one side to ground, the other side to the fuses, and then check for power. All right, so unfortunately all these have power like they're supposed to. These two up here don't because they're spares, but everything has power. So what we're going to be dealing with is going to be the sub DC fuse here, which should be this one according to the diagram. So I'm going to double check that, make sure that's good. But the next part is we are going to basically pull this bolt out of the tank, lift the tank up, and then the flasher module is clipped to the relay down here, and then we're going to check that. All right, so I've got the relay off, which is this guy right here. So this relay is a little bit weird. It's a 3-wire relay, but it should have, strangely enough, the black wire, according to the diagram, should be 12 volt. The green should be ground. And then the gray wire in the center here is supposed to be like the output wire. So we're going to key it on, and we're going to put our meter on this end and this end, and that should produce 12 volts. And if it does produce 12 volts, that tells us that the ground and the power are good. All right, so we have both the leads in. Again, this is the green wire, which is ground, and then this is the black wire. Again, this is referencing the wires going in from the backside, and that's supposed to produce 12 volt with key on, which we have. So that tells us that the power and ground are good. So now we just have to isolate and figure out what's going on with the gray wire here. All right, so the gray wire here goes to the wiring to the turn signal switch here. So there's supposed to be a gray wire that comes off of this harness here. That connects here. So I'm deciding whether it's going to be easier to pull off the controls or just find the wires to the back. All right, I had to remove the headlight and the bucket out, which was 2 5mm Allens, and then the 2 Phillips, and a couple wiring harness retainers. And then just to pull that forward, here's the wire for the turn signal switch down here. It was snaked behind here, so I unplugged it, rerouted it just so I could get to it. So what we're after is this gray wire here. This gray wire, and also one other thing, guys, is that like you want to double check both ends. So as you can see, the gray wire stays the same; it doesn't change colors. So we're going to check this wire with continuity to this middle connector here, and it should have continuity. All right, so we have the one wire in, and we are back probing this. So, okay, so we have continuity at least to this connector here. So we're going to investigate it further up. We're going to follow it up to here and just test it right there just to be sure. I guess in hindsight, I should have pulled this off anyways, even though I debated it, because we have to basically check here anyway. So I should have pulled this first and checked continuity. Had I done that, I would have skipped this entire process. All right, so the gray wire leads up to the turn signal switch. I had to remove it. There's 2 screws plus a couple other screws inside here to release the switch. So the gray wire here is the common wire. So what happens is when you move the switch left or right, it transmits whatever's in the gray wire to one of these two. And I've tested it off camera, and so this wiring is good. So when I pierce through orange or light blue, depending on where the signal is, it does get continuity. So that side is good. So I'm not really sure why it's not receiving power. My guess is actually that this relay has gone bad, but Like I said, as far as I can tell, the wiring is good. And I'm pretty sure it's good because these two wires here, the orange and light blue, not only do they turn on the turn signals, it also reports to the display. And as you guys saw earlier, when I hit the turn signal switch, the display actually shows that it's got signal. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of investigating. All right, so testing the power up here, it actually, I'm gonna have to set this down here. So right now so checking the power from the actual turn signals here. I actually found out that one of the turn signals was wired backwards, and a little bit more on that. But from right here, you see that at rest it's like 0.2 volts. That's relatively normal. I'm gonna hit the turn signal switch here. And after I hit the turn signal switch, you can see that it measures 6 volts. The wiring here looks intact, and that's right, it's just not flashing. So I'm actually going to have to, I'm going to unplug the rear tail light and see what happens. All right, so we pulled the rear tail light panel. There's like 2 screws here and 2 pop rivets, but I pulled it off and everything's connected as it should. What I ended up doing was I disconnected this really quick, and then I just jumped it to check for power, and we got the lights come on, but still we're only producing 5 or 6 volts. Obviously we need 12 for it to work, but we're still only producing that. So my guess is actually the relay is bad. So the thing that I had found up front was the front turn signals. One of them had been wired backwards. And so the reason why I wanted to mention that was because these are LEDs. So what D stands for is diode, and what a diode is essentially a one-way check valve. So my guess is that when they wired up the turn signals, they had the with it backwards, maybe it caused an overload in the relay. I'm not 100% sure if that would be the case. That seldom doesn't ever happen, but that's the only thing I can think of. So testing both the rear lights, I can get them to light up just by applying 12 volt power to them. So I know the light itself is good. And again, we're only getting 12 volt out of we're only getting 5 to 6 volts out of the wires there. So that generally tells me that the flasher relay has gone bad. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's most likely what's going on here. So I'm going to start wrapping this all back up, especially just this rear portion anyways. And I'm going to do some more testing up here and then try it out. Alrighty, so I've isolated the problem to the flasher. Currently I have 12 volts jumped. And when I have 12 volts jumped, I can turn on the turn signals. So fortunately enough, that is a easy fix there. Kind of a pain and it sucks, but relatively easy fix there. Just having to get the flasher relay, not the end of the world. At least we know all the wiring is good. Well, if we hadn't taken off the front, we would have never known the wiring is good. There was a good chance that we probably would have got a new flasher, stuck it in, and then who knows, maybe it would do the exact same thing. So unfortunately, we have a dead 3-wire flasher. No big deal. So a quick run to my local AutoZone. I picked up a universal flasher. So this is designed for LEDs as well. And this right here is actually just a H4 connector. You technically don't need this, but it's going to save you some time. The really sucky thing about this is that the flasher and the connector were like almost the same price, but it's going to make the job easier. What we're going to do is we're going to temporarily wire this in, and then that should work. It's going to be a solid fix. And so according to this little diagram here, 31 is ground, which is going to be black, which goes to the green wire on the factory relay. Then yellow is our 49A, which is actually the output wire, which is the gray wire. And then red here is the power wire, which actually goes to the black wire on the factory location. So we're going to I'm going to strip these real quick. I'm going to stick them in and then test it. And then if it all works, we'll start to wire it in. But here it is. So again, you've got yellow to gray, then you've got red to black, and then green to black, and then that should be it. So we're going to test it one more time before we put it back together. We got turn signals, and We got turn signals. All right, so that's all working. I'm going to basically tape this up, put some strain relief in it, and then this new flash relay is going to live back here. And then that's really it, guys. Brake lights. Turn signals. License plate light. Turn signal. Other turn signal. High and low beam. And then horn. All working as it should be.